With Claude Code, you can build fully working websites and apps in just minutes by basically just prompting. But when I look online for the tutorials out there, I either see overcomplicated explanations of how to run workflows with Claude or shallow guides that simply don't go deep enough. So in this video, I'm breaking down everything you have to know as a beginner to extract the most out of Claude Code as you can in the shortest time frame possible. And I'm going to do it in a way that breaks down concepts cleanly and concisely, and I'll share my screen as well so you can follow along and get your setup up and running by the end of this video. And here's everything we will cover today. Pricing and usage limits. This is one of the hottest topics around Claude Code right now because there are different tiers in usage limits, and I'm going to show you what those are and how to maximize and compact as much as possible. I'm also going to show you how to download Claude Code and how to set it up on your IDE. Now, there are a few ways in which you can use Claude Code, and I'm going to show you all of those ways. And I'm also going to introduce you to what an IDE is, an integrated development environment. And it can sound quite daunting, but believe me, it is not. You just have to follow the instructions that I'm going to share with you, and you're going to be able to get set up very, very smoothly. I will then introduce you to the different modes that Claude has, and each mode will be most appropriate for a different part of the workflow that you run. So this is quite important. We will also cover Claude features and /commands, so you can optimize the way you use your own Claude. And this is something that not many people cover. Maybe for some people who are more advanced, it is obvious. But when you start out with Claude, it's not something that comes so naturally. So I'm going to introduce you to it. I will then go through explaining what a Claude.md file is. And this is typically known as the brains of your Claude engine. I made a whole different video about this right here. I'll leave the link in the description. But I will briefly cover it in this video as well, so you understand how to use it and how to implement it. We will then go on to Claude Skills and how to use them. Claude Skills are pretty amazing because you can think of a specific workflow, such as creating a social media post or creating a dashboard or even transcribing your meeting notes. There's almost certainly a skill for it. Once you know how to download and leverage a skill, your whole life will change, I promise you. And lastly, we will finish on how to manage context and compress it so you can keep on going forever. This is a really hot topic around Claude right now. A lot of people are complaining about the fact that their paid subscriptions only take them this far and it's running out really quickly. But there are tips and tricks for you to be able to optimize this and extract the most out of your Claude subscription. So let's actually get right into Claude pricing and usage limits. Claude Code is only available on a paid plan. And you can see right here, there are 3 different plans. There's a free, pro, and max. On the pro plan, you will be able to see that Claude Code is included right here. Claude Code Work, which is something that we'll cover in a different video, is also included on the pro plan. In my opinion, it is 100% worth it. So if you want to use Claude Code, you'll have to get a pro plan. Now, the biggest hot topic is usage limits. There are 3 places in which you can see your usage limits, and they're actually split into 2. So the first thing that you have to know is that there are session limits and weekly limits. And session limits are broken down in gaps of 5 hours. So every 5 hours, you can use a certain amount of tokens. And you'll be able to see how you progress right here. And this is essentially Claude's way of protecting themselves from people who use a lot of tokens. So it's a little bit inconvenient, but I think, in my opinion, if you keep an eye out on these 2 bars, you're able to plan your workload across the week. And there are 3 places in which you can check your usage. One is right here on claude.ai/settings/usage. If you have the Claude app, you can simply go to settings and then go to usage, and you'll be able to see your usage right here. So you can see my session restarts in 30 minutes, which means this will go to 0. And my weekly limit actually resets tomorrow. So this will also go to 0. And then there's a third place, which is in the IDE itself. I'm just going to quickly show you. Now Claude launched this thing where it highlights how much of your weekly limit has been hit or your session limit. And you can just hit this button right here that says view usage, and you're able to see your session, so your 5-hour session where you are, and your weekly session as well where you are. I think one of the biggest problems for people who start using Claude Code is that they're not aware that they can check how they're doing in relation to their limits. And so they hit their limits, they don't know what to do, and they have to wait another 3 hours. If you always keep an eye out on how you're progressing and the types of tasks that take the biggest amount of tokens, you'll then be able to manage your work accordingly and sort of be able to navigate through your usage limits. And of course, if you work with Claude Code day in, day out, then you might want to consider going to the max plan that gives you 5 or up to 20 times more usage than your Pro subscription. But for me, I built a full app on the Pro level subscription and it was fine. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction of this video, there are 3 ways in which you can use Claude Code. The first and most simple way is via your web app right here. You simply have to go to this button at the top that says Code, click on it, and then you can start talking to Claude right here. You can say things like, build me an application that does X, Y, and Z. However, even though this is a very simplistic way of using it, chances are you're not going to be able to extract the most out of Claude Code in this experience. Then there is the other end, which is running Claude Code on the terminal. This can be found by literally typing terminal, opening it, and if you write Claude and hit enter, you will see that it opens up this experience right here. In this experience, you can choose dark or light mode, and you essentially can kickstart your Claude. I think it's a little too complex to use it here, and honestly, I don't. I think the best compromise is to use it in an IDE, which sits right in the middle of these 2 experiences. So what is an IDE? Well, it's an integrated development environment, and it's essentially an experience that allows you to manage code, run tests, debug, etc. And it may sound really daunting because this is what software development engineers used to work, but if you integrate Claude within it, the experience becomes super easy and smooth. And I'm going to show you right here. There's a few different IDEs that are very famous. One of them is Cursor right here, doing the rounds. Another one is Anti-Gravity by Google. The one that I recommend you to use is VS Code. And so you just type download VS Code. This is owned by Microsoft. It is super simple. It is completely free to use. And you don't have to be technical at all to be able to use it. So you're going to choose the right option. In my case, it's a Mac, but it can be a Windows. And once you hit download, you'll be taken to an experience that looks like this. This is what an IDE looks like. Once you are on your IDE, the first thing you will want to do is create a folder. So I'm going to go right here, and I've already created a folder called Project S. You can see that the folder is empty. So I'm going to go back to my IDE, and I can see it right here in recent. I'm going to click it, and it's open. You can see the folder is open right here. Now what you want to do is download Claude Code into your IDE. And for that, all you have to do is go to the left-hand side where it says extensions, and then you're going to write Claude Code. In my case, it's appearing right here at the top. You click on it, and then you hit this button right here that says install. Of course, for me, it says uninstall because I already have it. Once you do have it installed, you will see that the Claude logo appears right here on the top right corner, as well as right here on the left-hand side. And from the moment you install it, it will ask you for your credentials, and that's how it's going to know that you are on a Pro plan and that you have certain usage limits. If you click right here, it will open a Claude Code chat. So you can start talking to Claude right here. Now let's jump into the different Claude modes. I think this is important for you to know because different modes give you a different Claude Code experience. So I just opened my project right here. This is the project for my website, Selling with Nas. And on the right-hand side, you can see Ask Before Edits. That's the first mode that you should know. If you click on it, you'll see that there's different options. So what does Ask Before Edits means? It means that every time you ask Claude to do something on your behalf, when it's accessing certain files, when it's accessing certain pieces of the code, it will ask you if it has the permission to make certain changes. And this is sort of what that looks like. Normally, you will say yes, because you trust Claude Code, and so do I. But I think it's a really good way for you to start your experience to, at the very least, be aware of what Claude Code is doing to your project. Then the second mode is Edit Automatically, and you can change the mode by simply clicking on it as you can see it. In this case, Claude will simply have the ability to edit your selected piece of code or files automatically, without asking for your permissions or approvals. Once you get a little bit more comfortable with Claude, and you want to, for example, get a workflow to run and you want to go out for 10 minutes or you want to go to the bathroom or whatever, this is the mode to be on, because if you're on Ask Before Edit, every time Claude wants to access something new or access the web or doing something that requires a permission or approval, you will have to hit yes for it to continue. So once you're a little bit more comfortable, this is perhaps the best mode to be. And then there is a third one. And that third one you access by hitting /, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because I haven't introduced / commands just yet. We'll get to that. But there's 2 ways of getting there. The first one is /general config, and you hit this button right here. You will be taken to the settings page. And right here at the top, you can see there's a mode called Allow Dangerously to Skip Permissions. This is not recommended by Claude, and honestly, I don't recommend you either. You can hit this button that essentially gives Claude free reins to do whatever it wants. as he sees fit. This is only recommended for sandbox environments or no internet access because you can't really control Claude with this mode enabled. There's a different way of accessing this without using a slash command, which is by going here to the left-hand side to the extensions button. You click on Claude, and then you're going to find this little settings button right here, this manage button. You click on it, and then you hit settings, and voila, you're in the exact same place. So you can also enable it here. But again, I don't really recommend you to use this mode. And now, arguably, the most important mode that Claude Code has, and that is called plan mode. Plan mode allows you to essentially use Claude as your thinking buddy. Before you start any project, I really recommend you to always start on plan mode. This allows you to go to Claude and say, hey, listen, I'm trying to build this project. Let's say a study buddy app that tracks how many minutes of the day I spend studying and what that looks like and how I can monetize it. And Claude then goes ahead and starts reviewing that idea, but then coming back to you with questions so that you can expand on that idea and help Claude fully understand the project that you have in mind. Think about it like this. If you don't use plan mode, you will start building something that's relatively complex, and then you will have to backtrack because Claude perhaps didn't fully understand what you were trying to build, and then you'll have bugs, and then you'll have a code history that's far too long and complex. You'll have context that's blowing out of proportion. Your usage limits are being hit all the time, and that is a case scenario that you want to avoid at all costs. By starting a project on plan mode, all of that is avoided because Claude asks the right questions so that it understands exactly the type of project that you want to put together. It puts a plan for you to approve, and then it goes ahead and starts working on it. And this is roughly what plan mode looks like. You will see here that it asks you several questions, and then it can start moving from there from the moment you approve the plan. If you don't use plan mode, you might use 25% of your tokens in the beginning, creating the first MVP, then another 25% trying to edit it, then another 10% to revert back some of those changes, and all of a sudden you're maxing out your usage limits. If you do use plan mode, you might use 30% right in the beginning to get the plan correct, but then it only takes 5, 10, 15% to kind of go over the rest of the project, and it ends up being a lot more time efficient. And then within modes, I want to show you one more thing. So if you click here and you hit / and then you type permissions, you will see here that it suggests you to continue in the terminal. So you click here and it opens up different permission settings that you can give to your Claude. Now, I don't really want to go into depth for that, but it gives you bypass permissions similar to the modes that we had discussed previously. What I want to now cover, however, is the different types of models available within Claude Code. You'll be able to see here that if you go to their official website, they have 3 models right now. It's Opus, it's Sonnet, and Haiku. Sonnet is the recommended one. It's the one that people use most often, whereas Opus is a lot more complex and a lot more for in-depth reasoning. Haiku is the oldest one, is the fastest one, is the one that uses the least tokens, that has the smallest window. If you scroll down right here, you will be able to see that Opus has a context window of 1 million tokens, and so does Sonnet, whereas Haiku, which is the fastest one, as I mentioned, and the cheapest one, allows for 200,000 tokens. So that's about 1/5 of Sonnet and Opus. And if you want to change around models, which honestly, Sonnet is just fine, you click on this button right here, or you'd hit / right there in the box, and you hit this button right here, switch model. And here you can stay on Sonnet, which is recommended, or change to any of the other models. Different models also have different pricing. As you can see here, Haiku costs $1 for 1 million tokens of input and $5 for 1 million tokens of output, whereas Sonnet is a bit more expensive and Opus is even more expensive. But I also want to show you one more thing, which is effort levels. You'll see here, if you go back here to your IDE, if you click this button, you'll be able to select between low, medium, and high effort levels. So what are effort levels and which one should you be selecting when you're working on your Claude Code project? Well, low is the fastest one. It requires minimal reasoning. It's suitable for simple file lookups or quick questions that you may have to Claude Code. Medium, which is what I use and what I recommend you to use, is honestly, it's a default option for most, and it's ideal for routine debugging, for standard code changes, the creation of a project and the management of a project. And it's a good balance between speed and reasoning. And then you have high, which is more suitable for Opus as a model. And it's mainly used for complex coding problems, refactors, multi-file tasks, and just generally complex stuff. It is more expensive. It uses a lot more tokens. I don't recommend you to use the highest effort level because you will see your usage limits expire pretty quickly. Let's now jump into some of the key features of Claude Code. I want to show you what the experience in Claude Code looks like. As you can see right here, this is my chat with Claude. I just say whatever I want right here. But there's different ways in which you can use Claude Code. One of them is by clicking on this button right here and opening a Claude chat here. It works exactly the same. And if you do open it here and then you want to make it in big screen, you just have to click it and drop it to the main experience. And voila, you have a full Claude screen. Another way of doing it is by clicking this button and it will open a Claude chat right on the side. This is ideal if you want a multi-screen experience where you want to make sure that you see your conversation with Claude, but at the same time, you see all the code that's being changed in real time. So this is a pretty simple thing. It's just about adjusting Claude Code to your preferred experience. Now, what if you go onto the chat and click at? At is a functionality that allows you to invoke different files. So I have blogs called how much to charge for your e-commerce products. And this is obviously in relation to my project, which is my website, sellingwithnas.com. So if I click add, I can literally refer to one of my files. And then let's say I select this file right here, and then I tell change the title and the metadata to X, Y, and Z. I'm obviously not going to submit it right now, but if you do add and then select a file, Claude will know exactly where to look. This makes it faster, more efficient, less tokens being used, and Claude identifying right away which file they should be addressing. And by the way, with add, you can call file names or folders as well. So that's pretty handy. Then we go into the second one, which is the slash command. I mentioned it earlier in this video, but I want to take the time to actually explain it. If you hit /, it will allow you to select from a bunch of different things. You can see here switch model, effort level, accounts and usage, etc. There are so many different ones. But one of the things that I want to highlight is help. If you write /help, you will see here that it will open help documents for you to try to troubleshoot what you are experiencing. Now, of course, you get here to the help docs and you can literally ask a question right here. And that can be pretty helpful, especially if you're a beginner with Claude. Another command that I think is important is the review. If you hit review, Claude will immediately start reviewing your code base and look for bugs, look for things that can be optimized, etc. Another one is terminal. So you can open terminal right here. So that can open Claude in the terminal experience like I previously showed. I don't really use it too much, but it's an option. And then one that's super, super important that I will cover later on in this video is compact. Compact allows you to essentially compact your usage and your tokens and to essentially carry over your conversation in a compacted version into an experience that saves a lot of tokens. I will go a lot more in detail later on in this video. But essentially what I want you to know is that the / command allows you to access a whole bunch of functionalities within Claude. And if you don't click on /, you can click on this button right here, which essentially is the same. It's a way of using the mouse to hit the / command. I now want to jump into my next section, and that is the Claude.md file. I'm sure you've heard about it because it is often referred to as the brains of Claude Code. A Claude.md file is a markdown file just like this one that you add to your project root that Claude reads at the start of every session. And you can use it to set your coding standards, your preferred libraries, reviews, checklists, SOPs, and so much more. And in short, is a set of instructions for your Claude Code to always behave within the ways you work. And I made a full video about how you should structure your Claude.md file, which is right here. I'll leave the link in the description. And I've also written a blog about it, which I actually want to take you through right now. So if you go to my website, sellingwithnas.com, you hit posts, and you scroll down, you will find this post right here. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because you can literally copy an example of a Claude.md file right here and then adjust it based on your project. So go ahead, have a look through, and just very quickly, you should always start your Claude.md file with a project description. So what is it that you're building in this format? You then go on to commands that you used repeatedly. You then move to coding style preferences, important project quirks, where things live so that Claude knows exactly where to pick up what information. And then altogether, it kind of looks like this. But a Claude.md file is a document that helps you automate things that you repeat constantly. But if you've never used Claude Code before, how do you know what you're going to repeat constantly? And so perhaps you don't really want to start with this. You want to learn your ways before you jump into having a Claude.md file within your project. I really recommend you to have a look at this video because I share a lot of tips and information on things that you should include on your file, things that you should definitely not include on your file, and a step-by-step guide on how to build the file for your project. All right, so now we're getting to a point where it starts becoming a little bit more advanced. You want to start leveraging Claude Skills. Skills are markdown files that teach Claude how to perform certain actions at a standard that is above the normal Claude Code experience. I made a full video about how to download and start using a skill, and another video about my top 10 skills for Claude Code. So if you want to go deeper into skills, I do recommend you to watch this video because I go very slowly through how to install a skill and start using it within your project. I'll leave the link in the description. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to show you how to download and install a skill. So you're going to go right here within your IDE, you click on Terminal and you open New Terminal. And then once you have this experience open right here, you're going to find a skill that you want. Now, skills are scattered all across the internet. But if you go to my website and go to posts and you click on this blog and scroll down, you will find a whole bunch of skills. You can see right here, let's say I want a skill for brainstorming. So I'm going to click on it and it opens to a GitHub page that kind of looks like this. Now, what you want to do is you don't want to copy this link. You want to go to the master folder. So it will always be the first one. You click on this one and then you're going to copy the link, but leave out the tree main. So copy the link up to here, Control C, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to write git space clone space, and then I'm going to paste what I just copied. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then you'll see that Claude will start installing that skill. And here it is on the left-hand side, superpowers. That's exactly the folder that we downloaded. Within superpowers, if I open it, you will see here that there are different files, and within skills, there is this skill that I was interested in, brainstorming. Now, because I downloaded the master branch, I inadvertently ended up downloading a whole bunch of different skills, which can actually be quite useful. So if I wanted to, I could simply move brainstorming out and then delete the rest if I don't need it. But in this case, you will see here that if I open brainstorming, there is a skill.md file. And this file essentially is what the skill is, how it should behave, and everything associated with it. So you can create your own skills, which are skill.md files that look just like this, or you can use existing ones that are already on the internet. All you have to do is download it, like I explained it, and start using them. In this skill specifically, you can see here the description. You must use this before any creative work. So it's specifically a skill that tells Claude how to behave in the context of ideation, let's say. And so how do you actually use a skill? Well, you have to go back to Claude, you hit / and then type the name of the skill. And just by doing this, it will kickstart, it will ask you a couple of questions depending on the type of the skill, and then it starts working right away. But rather than just telling you, let me actually show you what a skill looks like in action. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to open my Claude. And to invoke a skill, the way you want to do it is by hitting / and then you type the name of the skill. There are so many different ones like this one, PDF. I love this one because I hate splitting PDFs. Sometimes I have a PDF that's 10 pages long and I just want to extract the first page. And with this skill, you can do that. So I use that quite a bit. But let's say web asset generator. Why not? So if you click here, you will see that Claude Code will start thinking, will start spinning it out. And within a few seconds, it will launch the skill. And the first thing it will ask me is, what type of web assets do you need? Favicons, app icons, social images, everything or other. So I'm going to select social images. Let's pretend I want to create something for my Instagram. Then he asks me, what source material will you provide? A logo, an emoji, a text, a slogan. So you can literally just write a slogan and it will spin an image for you. But I will say, I have a logo. So it goes away, thinks a little bit, and now it's asking me, which social media platforms do you need the images for? And here I'm going to say, well, all platforms. Why not? And so right now, Claude is saying, please provide the path for your logo or image, and I'll generate the social media images. Okay, so what I will do is I actually have this logo right here, which I want to use. So I'm going to drag it and I'm going to drop it to my project root. And this is from my website, leadlanding.dev. You definitely want to check it out if you want to validate ideas. And I'm going to say, I've just uploaded the logo to the project root. You can find it at, and then I'm going to hit at, which is something that I mentioned before, so that I can invoke the actual file. It's called favicon, is this one. And I'm going to hit enter. And just like this, the skill is essentially going to ask me for permissions. So permissions look like this. I'm just going to hit enter and accept. Yes, can I use this command? Yes. And then eventually it will produce something. And that is done. So all set. It just took a couple of minutes and it produced the assets right here, which I can find on the left-hand side. So let me see. Okay, so in this case, it wasn't hugely impressive, but you get the point. Based on what I gave it, it created images that are appropriate for different social media platforms. Now, that wasn't super impressive, so I actually want to show you a better skill. So I'm going to invoke this one right here, Web Artifacts Builder. And then I'm going to tell Claude, I want to create a dashboard to track my YouTube views. Just give me a wireframe. And Claude Code is going to go ahead, ask me some questions, and it's going to work hard at it. And within a few minutes, it built me this, a YouTube tracker for selling with NAS that tells me the total number of views, the total number of likes, comments, average views per videos. Of course, this is dummy data. I need to actually connect it to my channel, but it's pretty impressive. You can see here, within a few minutes, it created a full dashboard, and you're able to create this for your business with actual metrics and actually connected to your data sources. So skills can be pretty impressive if you use them in the right ways to the right case scenarios. But again, if you're interested in learning more about skills, make sure to check out this video. Link is in the description. Let's say you've started off using Claude Code, you're building your first project, things are going smoothly, and then you hit your usage limit. You don't know what to do, but every time you request Claude to do something, it just maxes out for no reason. Now, this is happening to a lot of people, and there's a lot of people on X and on Threads talking about this. So I'm going to give you some tips so that you optimize your usage and you keep your context to a minimum so that you can keep on going with Claude Code forever. The first thing I recommend you to do is to hit / and write context. This is going to open a summary of your project right here. You can see it gives me context usage. It tells me which model I'm using. It tells me how many tokens I've used as part of this model. So Sonnet allows for 200,000 tokens, and I've used 32% of them. And then it starts breaking down by category so I understand where that usage is coming from. I can see here that system prompt is 3.2%. Okay. Tools is a little bit more, 4%. And then the majority of my usage is going towards messages. Now, the good news is that this is the simplest way to reduce, and I'm going to explain to you right away. Just before that, I want to show you, okay, I'm not using a lot in tools and I'm not using a lot in skills either. So if a lot of your tokens are being used with messages, what do you actually do? Well, I'm going to take you right here to the Claude website, which gives more insight on how to manage costs effectively. And they recommend you to, first of all, run this command, / costs. But the thing is, if you run this command, which I'm going to do right now, you're going to see that I get this message right here that says, you are currently using your subscription to power your Claude Code usage. Of course, I'm not using the API, so that's not something that I can actually use to my advantage. So what I'm going to do is scroll further down this page, and you will see right here some hidden tips on how to manage your context proactively. The first thing they recommend is to use the / clear. And what this will do is essentially delete the whole conversation, delete all of the messages, which will allow you to start fresh. This will help you when it comes to context usage because Claude will no longer have a huge conversation to refer to. It will just start a brand new conversation. However, it may lose a lot of the context, and you want to make sure some of the context is saved. So there's this one right here called / compact. And nowadays, Claude actually compacts automatically, which means when it maxes out the window, it will say, oh, by the way, I'm going to compact this conversation. I'm going to take the important bits with me, and we're going to keep on going because otherwise you're going to be maxed out. You're not going to be able to keep using it. But you can do it proactively by clicking this button right here or / command and then writing compact. You can find the option right here. Now that you have all the basics, this is the workflow I recommend you to follow when you build something new with Claude Code. These are essentially 5 steps to go from idea to fully launched app. But chances are you are a creative person. You have so many ideas of things to experiment with and build, but there's 2 problems. One is time. There's only so much time you can dedicate to each idea. And the second is Claude Code tokens. There's only so many tokens and usage limits that you'll be able to use. So what do you actually do? What do you focus on? Well, this is exactly why validating before actually building with Claude Code is so important. And that's why I built this product called leadlanding.dev. I'm going to leave the link in the description, but essentially you can sign up for free. You can build a landing page with AI, which is actually powered by Claude Code. And then you can start collecting leads because there are forms embedded and people can register their interests in your idea. Now, if you launch a couple of landing pages with your value proposition, you share them around with your target audience, the one that collects the most leads organically is probably the one that's worth spending your time and money building. So go ahead, build your first validation experiment, launch a landing page, get some demand, and then start building that idea. Now, what does the workflow actually look like? Well, the first thing you should do is to write down your idea with a reasonable amount of detail, but not too much because you don't want to constrain Claude Code. I put an example right here that you can draw inspiration from. So I said, I want to build a time tracking app for students to know the amount of time they study for, set goals, and keep themselves accountable. I want there to be a free tier, but also a paid one for extra features like reminders, recommendations, and advanced analytics. This is a really good sort of short prompt that you can give to Claude Code to start thinking. And now step number 2, when you do that, select plan mode. Because what you want to do is give Claude that prompt to go through it, but to prepare a plan, to go a little bit deeper, to actually ask you questions on how do you want it to look? What tech stack do you want me to use? What are the tools, databases, and other features that you want me to build? This is a really perfect way to get the basics right from the beginning. Then the third part is to get a first draft. Claude will start building it for you once you approve that plan, and it will show you the first draft. Make sure to ask to see it on localhost, and Claude will give you that option. So you're not actually pushing anything live onto the internet just yet, only you can see it. From this point onwards, you're going to be able to start messaging Claude and saying, hey, I want to adjust this, I want to improve that, and so on and so forth. Once you get to a stage where the project is starting to gain shape, this is where you will have to buy a domain, connect it to a GitHub account, connect it to a hosting platform, and then a database, payment provider, and all of those external tools. Claude Code is pretty good at giving you exact instructions on how to do this, but it's probably work that you're going to have to do yourself. And if you do need help with this, make sure to get in touch via my website, sellingwithnaz.com, because this is an implementation that I'm more than happy to support you with. And if you kind of know how to buy a domain, you've done it before, you know how to connect it with your GitHub, I made a video about how to set up free hosting, which I'm going to leave right here, or the link is in the description. So make sure to check that one out because you essentially don't have to pay for hosting if you lay out the structure in the correct way. Hopefully you gained some value from this video and you're kickstarting your Claude Code project right now. If you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be launching another one with a tutorial of how to use Claude Cowork, which is extremely powerful to automate workflows. So thank you so much for watching. And again, if you need any support, reach out to me via my website, sellingwithnaz.com. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.